Hey friends, welcome to Bible Fun with the Duns. We are headed to family vacation, but we still are in the Word. And so today we read Job chapter 37, and it is the last of what Elihu's been saying. And Elihu's still talking to Job and still talking about what he thinks God is saying to him, and he's talking about how God speaks through everything around us. And so Dusty's going to expound on some of that.
Okay, so you'll notice while you're reading through the passage that what Elihu does is he's trying to trace God's hand through all of the works of nature. So for instance, he's going to talk about God in the time of fall, not the fall, but like autumn. He's going to talk about God in the winter, God in the summer, God in the spring, and he's going to take it, and the premise is he wants Job to understand that God is present in all of our seasons of life. Now this is why this is important, because Job has adamantly kind of confessed over and over, he doesn't feel like God is talking to him. He doesn't feel like God is paying attention. He wants to stand before God and tell God what's happening as if God hasn't noticed. But Elihu is saying, Job, it may be not that God is not paying attention. It may be that all of life is about God and we're not hearing him correctly. And so, Jen, kind of break down in my notes right there the sections of the seasons.
The seasons. So verses 2 through 5, that's fall or autumn. Verses 6 through 10, it's winter. You can tell by he talks about it freezing over, the snow falling on the earth. Verses 11 through 13, that's spring. And then 14 through maybe the end, but 17 for sure, that's summer.
That's right. Now, there's an interesting verse. I think it's verse 13. It's about the reasons for God's discipline and his harshness. Read that for us.
It says, he causes it to come, whether for correction or for his land or for mercy. You want me to read your notes?
Yeah. So the premise of the note is, what if Elihu, remember, in the last chapter when God is fussing at all of his friends, Elihu is not fussed at. Now, we don't know why, and certainly he wasn't perfect, but neither was Job. And so I want to give a little bit of open door kind of weightiness to what Elihu says, because I'm reading him here and I'm going, yeah, I agree with that. So what were my notes on that? Just kind of jot those down.
You said, this is Elihu's summary to why God allows storms, both literal and metaphorical. Number 1, to correct us. Number 2, to bear needed fruit. And then number 3, for providing something we need, often redirection or prevention of sin.
Okay, so let me sum up that summary. Whenever we go through the storms of life, it could be because either A, we do deserve it because we've sinned. And by the way, God disciplines those whom he loves, those who belong to him. So as we're his kids, parents do have to whip their kids to teach them lessons. Okay? Number 2, it could be that sometimes we bear the greatest fruit in our difficulties. So if we have mountaintops and valleys, mountaintops are great and we want to be on the mountaintop of God, but down in the valley, that's where all the water runs and that's where all the sediment falls and that's where flowers grow. The third thing is, what if sometimes God allows us to go through trials because they keep us from doing something dumb? Okay? I want to add a fourth one there. I didn't put it in my notes. What if God allows suffering because, not for any of those, but like for Job did nothing to bring on all of this. What if these are, the number 4 is just the mysteriousness of God's plan, where God can do what he wants to do because he's God and we're not. And so I would go with that. What are a couple other things we noticed in that passage?
In verses 15 through 19, Elihu's big point. If you can't explain the everyday things of nature, how can you expect to prepare a court case before God?
Oh, yeah. So the whole book, Job said, if I could just stand before God, I'd plead my case and God would believe and God would fix all my problems. And Elihu says, dude, you can't even explain stuff on earth. How in the world are you going to explain stuff on heaven?
And I like what you put about verse 21.
All right.
Elihu asks, if you can't even look at the sun, what means What makes you think you can look at God face to face?
All right. So that's a good one. And it's also a good intro into the fact that the very next chapter, God shows up.
God.
And where Job has been like feisty the whole time, he's like, I just want to stand before God and talk about all my issues, and God will hear my case. Well, when God does show up in this next chapter, guess who is quaking in his boots? It is Job. And so it's a great reminder. We don't know all we think we know. We can't explain all we think we can explain. We don't know God the way we think we know God. So we got to be humble, and we got to be ready just to sit with Him. So tomorrow we're going to read about what the Lord says, and I'm excited to hear from God.
For sure.
All right? Keep reading.
Bye.
Bye.